Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Vendor among two killed in Manchester attacks. The Manchester police have confirmed the killing of two men in separate incidents in the parish over the weekend. The victims have been identified as Orlando Cummins, 34, a higgler of Crosskeys in the parish, and a man known as O'Neill of the Greenvale address. According to reports, approximately 10 p.m. on Saturday, Cummins had just returned home from the Coronation Market in Kingston. The police say he was approached by two men who demanded money and ordered him into his house. Cummins tried to escape, but was chased by the gunmen who fired several shots hitting him. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. In the other incident, residents in Greenville reported hearing shots about 1 o'clock in the morning. The body of a male was later discovered at 7 a.m. with what appeared to be gunshot wounds. St. Anne woman dies in fiery motor vehicle crash. A 38-year-old St. Anne woman died in a fiery three-vehicle collision near Pier 3 Bottom, Runaway Bay in the parish yesterday morning. The deceased has been identified as Anastasia Edwards of Hampton Heights, Runaway Bay. The police say the crash involved a tractor-trailer, Edwards Honda CR-V, and a panel truck. The tractor-trailer and the Honda CR-V were traveling towards Discovery Bay, while the panel truck was traveling in the opposite direction. It is reported that the panel truck veered into the path of the tractor-trailer, hitting its wheel. The driver of the panel truck then lost control of the vehicle and crashed into Edwards Honda CR-V, which was traveling behind the trailer. Both vehicles then burst into flames. Edwards' charred remains were removed after the fire brigade extinguished the flames. Two teens listed among 3 persons of interest in St. Andrew South. Two teens are among 3 persons of interest listed by the St. Andrew South Police in relation to several crimes in the division. The St. Andrew South Police Criminal Investigations Branch wants them all to report to the Hunts Bay CIB before noon on Monday, March 14. They are Paul Davis, 17 years old, otherwise called Paulus, of Fiddis Road and Alexander Road, Whitfield Town. Damani Davis, 19 years old, otherwise called Damage, of Alexander Road, Whitfield Town. Tamani Williams, 23, otherwise called Chucky Boy, of Glen Road and Forest Road, Whitfield Town. Detectives believe that these persons may be of assistance to ongoing investigations for various crimes committed in the division. Witch hunt. Former Commissioner of Customs Danville Walker is defending himself against a report by the Integrity Commission that has accused him of acting outside of his remit when he allowed 15 traders to export scrap metal during a ban by the government more than a decade ago. The investigation was commenced by the now-defunct Office of the Contractor General, but its successor agency, the Integrity Commission, last week recommended that the findings be turned over to the Director of Corruption Prosecution. In a report tabled in Parliament on Tuesday, Kevin Stevenson, Director of Investigation at the Integrity Commission, stated that the Director of Corruption Prosecution should consider provisions in the law to determine whether any exporter or public officer contravened the statute following the Cabinet approval ban on scrap metal exportation in August 2011. He claimed that none of the 15 scrap metal exporters named in an August 2011 letter written by Walker were legitimately exempted from the ban put in place by the then Minister of Industry, Investment and Commerce, or by the government. He accused Walker of verbally giving the order. However, Walker said he was particularly skeptical about the latest recommendations and implicit politics behind it. In 2011, the now-defunct Contractor General Office took hours to refer me to the DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, and released to the press that I should be charged for essentially with being late to respond to their questions regarding the matter of the containers with scrap metal that were exported. During that time, I was a candidate for the ruling Jamaica Labour Party JLP in the Manchester Central constituency in 2011, Walker said in a statement shared with reporters. Adding that at the time he was found guilty, fined $5,000, and that the issue impacted his political campaign in a hard-fought general election. So after 10 years of investigating, your accusation is that I gave a verbal order to custom officers to to allow the export of containers that the permanent secretary of the ministry, who issued the ministerial order, believed were exempted from the same order, and in so doing, I acted outside of my authority as Commissioner of Customs, he quipped. After 10 years, I guess you expect me to find any written document or fully recall all that took place with this matter, he continued. Well, I guess, after all this time, you had to come up with something, but I think it is pertinent unfair to me, and that the ego that drove you in 2011 is still very much alive and well. Walker added, I have no more elections to face to relax. I am now in a private sector and remain proud of my service to Jamaica as the JLP candidate in the 2011 parliamentary election as Commissioner of Customs, CEO of the Office of the National Reconstruction, Director of Elections, Electoral Commissioner, the Jamaica Defense Force, and the nearly 30 government boards that I have served for 3 different administrations. I acted in good faith then and remain grateful to have been able to serve. CMO cautions that Jamaica remains vulnerable to COVID. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisosa Mackenzie is cautioning that Jamaica remains vulnerable to new COVID variants even as it seeks to recover from the pandemic. In recent weeks, infection rates have been lowered, but vaccination take-up remains sluggish. We saw what happened with Omicron. Every country, despite how many cases they have, despite how many vaccinations they have, they were all vulnerable to Omicron, and all these numbers soared. We remain vulnerable to new variants, she reported. Bisosa Mackenzie was speaking ahead of her participation in the 2022 staging of the Sagicor Sigma Corporation Run yesterday morning. The CMO explained that because of Jamaica's vaccination levels, the country is also at risk of severe infections. To date, only 24% of the population has been vaccinated against COVID-19. We know that vaccination protects against severe illness. If we are only there, we are vulnerable to severe infections if we get a variant that will cause severe illness, she said. As COVID-19 restrictions continue to ease, the CMO urged Jamaicans to proceed with caution. We are doing pretty well now, and everybody's fingers are crossed that we will not have a new variant that will send us in another surge, but right now, I think we are taking positive steps to the opening up slowly but certainly surely, the country's chief medical officer remarked. She is hoping that with the reopening of school, more children will be able to take home the message of infection control. When kids learn the right things, they try to pass it on as a message as much as possible. I think we have a good opportunity to spread the message even more. The new normal is going to mean for us we continue with infection prevention and control measures, she said. Meanwhile, Bisosa Mackenzie had commended Sagicor and all other corporate entities that have given significant support to the health sector in Jamaica's fight against COVID-19. This year, the event was aimed at raising funds more than $50 million for the Kingston Public Hospital. High energy as Sagicor Sigma Run makes in-person return. There was high energy despite lower than usual numbers for the 24th staging of the Sagicor Sigma Corporate Run yesterday morning. Before COVID-19, the run attracted up to 27,000 participants, but this year organizers made changes to reduce the possibility of transmission by hosting virtual runs, invitational races, and a corporate team bubble run. The inaugural corporate team bubble run, which is the first of 2 in-person races, got off to a start at 7 a.m. yesterday morning, with runners participating in groups of up to 240 people at a time. The invitational run is scheduled for March 20. Scotiabank employee Fiona Bentley crossed the finish line with her 3-year-old daughter, Faye Anna, who she pushed in a stroller. It was a good workout. Last year, I did the virtual run. It has been a yearly thing since my daughter was in my tummy, and she is now 3, the mother said. She said her daughter has been her workout partner, and they are trying to get back on track. Right now, I'm just hoping for more 5Ks like we did before all these COVID-19 restrictions, said Bentley. President and CEO of Sagicor Group Jamaica, Chris Saka, said his team was elated and over the moon at the opportunity to host the race. This is a part of our DNA. Last year, we were unable to do an in-person run other than a few selected people. This year, we were able to move closer to normality, and we are excited. It is a big thing for us, and I think it is a big thing for Jamaica. So many people look forward to participating, and we just want to help Kingston Public Hospital in a big way this year, Zaka said. It was Danielsbury's second time participating in the charity run, and he had an enjoyable experience. We've been dying to get back to life. It has taken something, but I'm happy that I was able to come out and do this, especially for the cause. It's always good to interact with people, and we've been missing that for some time, the 28-year-old stated. Berry said although the 5K run signals that Jamaica is making strides to return to normal, he is mindful that COVID-19 is still a reality. We must still observe the necessary protocols and get back to life as safely as possible, Berry stated. Since the start of the charity road race in the 1990s, more than $500 million has been donated to numerous beneficiaries with a focus on health, child-related and educational initiatives. Parent-Teacher Association anxious for Champs 2022. The National Parent-Teacher Association of Jamaica, NPTAJ, is supporting the return of the Issa Grace Kennedy Boys and Girls Athletic Championships. By the end of the week, patrons will get ticket details. The event was cancelled in 2020 and scaled back in 2021 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But it is expected that this year there will be fewer restrictions. According to the NPTAG, the Intersecondary School Sports Association has done well staging the Manning and the Costa Cup competitions and is expecting a safe hosting of Champs 2022. ISA should also be congratulated regarding the manner in which the organization went about ensuring that our student athletes were well protected from the effects of the COVID-19 virus, said a NPTAJ spokesperson in a statement. The association has also congratulated title sponsors Grace Kennedy for supporting the program. Petrodram pursuing additional oil suppliers amid Ukraine crisis. Jamaican's oil refinery, Petrodram, is now in talks with several source markets to ensure uninterrupted fuel supply during the Russia-Ukraine war. According to the general manager, Winston Watson, a Petrodram team is now in the United States, attending the annual American Fuel Petrochemical Manufacturers Conference to meet with oil traders and national oil companies to secure additional options for both crude oil and refined products. At present, Petrodram sources crude oil from Petrobras in Brazil and from Colombia and Ecuador. Small quantities of crude oil are also brought from Barbados. However, Watson said since the Ukraine crisis, the refinery has reached out to other countries in the region, including Ghana and Argentina. At the same time, Petrodram is in talks with Petroecuador in Ecuador and Ecopetrol in Colombia to establish supply agreements. Talks are also underway with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation with a view to securing around 4 million barrels of crude oil per annum. Meanwhile, Watson said Petrodram is making every effort to ensure fluid supply to Jamaica at the most competitive prices. During these types of geopolitical events, smaller countries such as Jamaica may experience greater challenges in sourcing both crude oil and refined products. However, we are sparing no effort to ensure that we have access to reliable crude and product supplies, said Watson. Petrodram has additional crude oil storage where up to 1 million barrels of crude oil can be stored, and Watson said alternative storage arrangements are being explored. Petrodram Limited, Jamaica's sole oil refinery, commemorates 40 years of service this year. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.